Hi, welcome to NicheCraft. My name is Kassi and I'm your host, and today we are going to be looking through this book which I got as Happy Mail from a very special subscriber, and I want to thank that subscriber who wants to remain anonymous for sending me this book from the channel wishlist. So this book is called Melissa Leapman's Indispensable Stitch Collection for Crocheters. It's got 200 stitch patterns in words and symbols, so it's not just written out. They also have the diagrams, okay, which definitely helps for those of you who are visual learners. Okay, now just looking at the front of this book, you can see some of the beautiful stitches that are included in this book. Okay, so we've got some open work right here, some color work, we've got, you know, really pretty patterns here, and it's just some of these patterns, because I did look through this book already, some of these are things that I've never seen, you know, so it's really impressed me. So this book is made out of very sturdy material. It is the paperback, okay, but this is printed on very strong, again, very strong material, and I would definitely recommend it. Here you can see some more of these different designs that are included in this book, and again, you know, it's really impressive to me just how many different kinds of designs that were included. Okay, so we're going to look at the contents first. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you every single page for copyright reasons, but I am going to do a pretty quick flip through, okay, so you guys can understand what you're going to get if you were to purchase this book. So we have the introduction. We've got the stitch collection, okay, and it's divided into solid patterns, shell and fan stitch patterns, open work and lace patterns, textured patterns, color work patterns, and edgings, okay. Then we've got section 2, which are resources. We've got that abbreviation list, which is really important if you don't know how to read patterns. This will help you, okay. And then understanding international crochet symbols. So for those of you who, let me see if, I don't think we've come to the diagrams yet. For those of you who need help learning to read this kind of pattern here, it's going to have that as well. So I think that that's really important. So it'll work for whether or not you're used to regular type patterns or if you want to look at a more visual type pattern, okay? It's also got crochet techniques, and then she's got a page dedicated to the crochet community and an index, which is always really important. We've got a dedication and acknowledgements, some about the author and ways to use this book, how to read the patterns. Okay, so this is the stitch collection right here. All right, so, you know, we start off with the typical ones. We've got, you know, the single crochet, the back loop single crochet, and that's what I call that ripple rib stitch that creates that really pretty ribbing. Front loop single crochet, and you know, and on, you know, until we come to the double crochet, and half double crochet and treble crochet or triple crochet. So now we start seeing some of the more standard patterns. So we've got the silt pattern, the seed, the thicket, and the moss. Okay. And now we are to the shell and fan stitches. So I really like the simple shell stitch pattern. It always looks really nice and elegant on a blanket, especially if it's a for a child. And I always like it in that coral color. But I also like this idea of the shells. They're kind of like facing one another. They're like you've got one that's going up, and then you've got one that's going down. I really like that. So this is a 3 and V shells, and then some balance shells that has, you know, a stitch in between each one. So I really like that. Okay, so moving on, you start getting some really interesting, we've got these carnival wheels, linked shells, and clip shells here. This textured shells will look pretty familiar to you guys. This is very similar to the Sunny Funshine blanket that I did a tutorial on a while ago. Mine is a little bit different from this, but this is very similar to that. And then we have this pineapple lace. So now we have some trellis shell patterns, which I actually have not seen this trellis shell pattern before, at least that I can remember. And we have this kisses and shells. And so, you know, the way that we see it, especially if you look at the diagram, it's like they're crisscrossed. And I always think those are really interesting and they look really nice. And then we have this kind of triangle shells is what she's calling it. So yeah, the shell pattern is really nice. This is more like the Sunny Funshine blanket. And that's a really nice lacy pattern. So we have, this is called bungalows, frilly fans, elegant shells, airy shells. So this is more open. Now these Dutch shells, this looks really interesting. I really like the way that looks. I'm not certain if I'd like to, how to make them, but it certainly looks nice. And I really like this. It's called shadow shells. So we've got acrobatic ones. And again, you know, these are just all sorts of different ways to look at them. I really like this pattern right here. I've seen different versions of this. Hers looks like pretty much the standard. I've never heard it called the spindle pattern before, but I like this when you alternate the rows between these circles and then you have X's on top, because it looks really defined as an X's and O's blanket. So again, we have all sorts of different kinds of shell patterns. They're really, really beautiful and just some really amazing work. I think that this one looks really nice. She's calling this the rosette pattern. This is just gorgeous to me. And it looks like it's pretty easy to make too, because you've got a cluster of 4 shells right here, and then you have the open work pattern there. I don't know what I would use this for, maybe a shawl. But it's definitely very, very pretty. And I think that this is a really nice pattern here. So going on, we have another kind of trellis stitch. I love this because we've got the thicker trellis and then the trellis within a trellis. I think that that's great. And we've got this one that she's calling Argyle shells. I like that too. Again, just really, really pretty stitches that I've just not seen before. This winged lace, I really, really want to try this out. So I'm definitely going to be learning how to do this, and maybe I'll share that with the channel. And this one's really pretty. This is called the honeysuckle pattern. That's what she's calling it. I just really like it. That's the best way I can put it. I think it's really pretty. So again, we've just got some really nice different kinds of patterns here. So we've got this she says this is a V-stitch pattern. It is, yeah. And lacy clusters, we've got those clusters right here. So again, a lot of different kinds, from lace to open work to solid. We've got those. Now these kind of Gothic arches are kind of interesting. I've never really liked them myself, but I know that they're popular. So they even have those. This one I thought was really interesting. She calls this Lucky Stripes. I like how it looks kind of like it's bunched up right there. I really think that that's neat. Okay, and then we have this one. These are supposed to be in the shape of a heart. I think it looks pretty good in the shape of a heart. It's kind of hard to make a heart shape with crochet though. I'm always really impressed when anybody is able to pull it off real well. I love this one. It looks like clovers with the 3 leaves there, and then it's just kind of connected to each other. I think that that would make such a pretty, like, St. Patrick's Day thing, or a shawl, especially if you're going to Ireland, and you know, or if you just like clovers and you want to make a clover shawl. I think that that would just look so nice. It would also be nice if you alternated a couple of these clovers with different, like, kind of flower, lace looking flowers. It would just look beautiful. And here's a really interesting popcorn stripe here, with just all sorts of different techniques all mixed together to make this a really special stitch. So again, this is such a wonderful book. It's just got all of these different kinds of ideas in it. that I haven't seen before. I love this open work ripple, or this wave. That's what I was taught to call these, they're not chevrons, they're more rounded here. I think that that's gorgeous. And this is gossamer lace. This is called Alternating Simple Open Work, and she's got 2 different versions of that. She calls this Fences, Trellis, another trellis stitch, checkerbird lace, and again, I like this buttonhole pattern. I just think that they're really, really pretty. I like this one. I think that, you know, you've seen them before. Maybe you haven't. It's okay if you haven't. Called the honeycomb patterns. And I think this looks more like a honeycomb than the honeycomb patterns that I've seen look like. I don't know how, I've just so you know, I've not seen most of these. So I would have to learn how to do this. But these are some patterns that I'd really love to share on the channel, definitely. And just again, they're really pretty. Now these are some textured patterns. I have done a tutorial on the waffle stitch, but I used cotton, and I don't think the waffle stitch looked very distinct in my pattern. Here's my cat, who, as ever, wants to be on YouTube. He is just getting so jealous of mommy. Say hi. You gonna say hi? Hi, I wish that I was on YouTube. Oh, look at you, baby. Okay, we're gonna put you down. I'm sorry, honey. We have to put you down. So yeah, my waffle stitch, I don't think it looked very defined, so I'm thinking about redoing that one. But I've never seen this horizontal quartered let me see if I can pronounce it, corded pattern. And then, you know, the rice stitch, I've done that one before, and we've got this ribbing here. I always love this textured lattice stitch. I call it the diamond stitch. I think that this is really pretty, and I have seen this one before as well. So we've got just all sorts of different textured patterns. This one was on the book, on the outside of the book. And so, yeah, I mean, she's even got these really elaborate ones that look like cables. So, yeah, these are really, really nice. Look at how pretty that is. That is so pretty. And then, you know, something like this, which is really pretty. She calls this a flying geese. I like that. Now, she's calling this her honeycomb pattern. I mean, I like this. I wouldn't call it honeycomb myself, but I just think that these are so cool. And again, we've just got all of these. We've got these flower patterns, and you know, I'm just kind of going through the whole thing. We've got the wide herringbone pattern. This is the one that was also on the front cover that I just thought was really pretty. And just, you know, we've got 2 different kinds of basket weaves, diagonal stripes in both directions. You know, we've just got it all. I like how this looks like it's a bigger crochet. But she's calling this chain links. I love that. Now, I have seen a lot of these kinds of popcorn and bobble stitch patterns before, but she has them all out here. And just again with these really pretty cable looking patterns here. Just want to make sure you can see that. They're just so pretty. Just all of these different braids and cables and all of that. I just think they're so pretty. Okay guys, sorry about that. My dog was barking and I wanted to make sure that we had a better sound here. So we've got the Tree of Life here and another braided cable pattern. Just really, really pretty different patterns like these, which I think are just really amazing. Now we've got the color work patterns, and these are just absolutely gorgeous. A lot of this looks like a mosaic crochet. Now I have not looked closely enough to see if this actually is mosaic crochet or not. I wouldn't be surprised if some of this was, but I'm just kind of flipping through this real quick so you guys can see that without me compromising the pattern. So as you can see, there's just all sorts of ones. I really like that one. I mean, I like all of them. They're really, really something else. I've never really liked this kind of like eyelash. I don't know what they're called, but I always see them as called eyelash stitches. I don't really like those so much. Now, I have seen a version of this before, but I think that that looks really pretty. It looks kind of like roses to me. She's calling this discs, but I think that that looks pretty. And again, we just have all sorts of really gorgeous patterns here that I just cannot wait to learn. I really can't. I think that this is just going to make a really, really interesting book that I can show you guys some tutorials from, and I just cannot wait to show them to you. So we've got some edgings here, and you know, as far as edging goes, these are pretty nice edgings. You'd be surprised with how hard it is to find a book that has actually good edgings in them, so it's really nice to see that as well. So yeah, really, really like that. There's some really, really nice different designs here. So here we have the abbreviations, and they're absolutely all represented here. We've got the American and the UK terms, which is always, you know, it's always important to have that depending on where you're from, so you can kind of translate them. And then this is talking about the different crochet symbols, and these are international standard symbols, okay? So it doesn't matter if you purchase a pattern, if it's a symbol in any different country, they're all going to be the same, which is really nice about these symbols. And again, for those of you who are visual learners, it can be a lot easier to read these kinds of charts once you learn than to read a pattern. So I really appreciate that she includes this. Not all crochet books include these kinds of things in it, so I think that that's really nice. And again, the crochet techniques typically is, you know, slip knot, chains, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and on, so that you can kind of visualize and teach yourself exactly what kind of maneuvers you need to be making with your hook and your yarn to make these different kinds of special stitches that she has in the book. So she really gives you everything that you need to know in order to, here's the index, in order to make every single one of these very gorgeous stitches that she's included in the book. So I really, really hope that you've enjoyed this flip through. Hopefully you know what to expect. I would give this book a 5 out of 5 easily. It has so many stitches that I've never seen before, and it makes me so excited to learn something new, and I think that that's always a good thing. So if you want a stitch pattern book that's got some things that are not seen in a lot of those stitch pattern books, I would definitely recommend you guys picking up Melissa Leapman's Indispensable Stitch Collection for Crocheters. It is a really good book. All right, guys, I'll see you soon with another video. Bye-bye.